Yeah. Hey. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean. Hey. Please do remain calm.
Please do remain calm. Welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast. I am Ben Gonzalez.
And I am Daniel Gonzalez.
And but it sounds awesome with that song, dude.
I know, dude.
I can't get over that now. I can't believe we went all these episodes without it. This is a special Wonder Twins episode of the PRC show, as we both we didn't plan this shit, but we're both wearing the merch.
Boom.
We're both rocking Please Remain Calm official.
We both had no other shirts.
T-shirts. Yeah, I guess so. And you know what? I don't know if you planned for this, but we were taping 2 episodes today. This is a little behind the scenes, breaking the fourth wall shit.
Damn.
We were taping 2 episodes today. I was wearing this shirt for both. Were you?
Yeah. So, hey, 2 weeks in a row.
This is going to be a double Wonder Twins drop.
It is what it is.
Of episodes. Will this be just a uniform from now on? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? We haven't gone that route of just doing an episode in uniform. Just being corny like that. But here we are, Wonder Twins Part 1. And our guest today is...
Julie Wolfe. Julie is an engineer at my fire station in Venice. She's got 33 years on the job with the LA City Fire Department. Came on the job in 1987 when it was still a very, very much male-dominated occupation and fire department, and has seen a lot. Has a great reputation within the fire department. Was a solid firefighter before she was the solid engineer that she is now. And got a few things to talk to her about, just about in general about coming up as a female in a male-dominated occupation, and the challenges that go along with that.
The 80s LAFD. We already had an episode with 80s LAFD.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
a
world of difference.
And we could do 100 more, probably.
Right?
But then we're also going to touch on a kind of infamous structure fire back in 2001 in Hollywood, the Palomar Hotel fire, which Julie was stationed basically right down the street, and was first on scene of that incident. And a couple little interesting tidbits about her very interesting life. So thank you for coming on, Julie.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Hey, before we get into talking to Julie here and get into the rest of the show, I wanted to take a moment and recognize a friend of mine that passed away, who is a firefighter and paramedic with Los Angeles Fire Department. Jose Perez was a classmate of mine. He had almost 17 years on the job, just like me. Worked his entire career in South Central. And when I tell you that Hoser was a good dude, I can't put it into words what kind of a guy he was. I mean, he had a big heart. He was a very calming and deliberate presence on scene of a medical call. He was a fantastic firefighter who loved his job, loved the area that he worked in, and had a real sense of community with the people in that part of South Central where he works. And every time that I worked with him down there, I'd pick up. I worked the next district over at 57s. He was at 33s for about 4 years. We worked in the same battalion, worked solid days together and stuff like that. And any time I worked with him, he always had somebody he had to stop by and say hi to. Had some the workers over in the metal shop where they were doing little diamond plate work for the station. He'd stop by and bring him a little gift, and 5 or 10 guys would come out and give him a hug and say what's up, and he's introducing me, and he's got a little individual story for each one. I mean, that's the kind of guy that Hoser was. I love the guy. I have nothing but good things to say about him, and I challenge you to find anybody that knew the guy to have one bad thing to say about him. He left behind. He basically he caught COVID on an overtime day, and while he was sick with that, wound up developing double pneumonia, and passed away. And my heart goes out to his wife. He had a wife and 3 kids, and they're planning the services. That's the other bad thing with this is that with COVID, you can't have gatherings and stuff like that. So normally when a firefighter dies, it's a big deal, especially a line of duty death, which this is. You get fire departments from all over the country that come and send a representative, send a fire engine to walk in the procession, to pay respects to any firefighter that dies in the line of duty. And so with everything going on in the country right now, we're not really able to do that. So they're trying to plan something outdoors The rumor, is that they're trying to plan something where we can pay respects to really a great man and a great firefighter. And I just wanted to say that and say, Jose, I love you, man, and I hope you rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace.
All right. But yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy. So wear your damn mask, please, out there. You know what I mean? It's just a prime example of you never know when you have it, number one, or if you're going to pass it on to somebody else. So just another example of why we all need to do that. And we're all in this together. So
yeah, it's starting to hit home with a lot more people.
Yeah.
I'm starting to know somebody who's touched by it in one way or another.
Definitely. So, what else, man? What else? Anything uplifting to talk about?
Right?
I know, to bring things back. Yeah. I mean, we can just start getting into Julie's story, I guess, now, because I have like non-paramedic stuff, non-fire stuff we talk about at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Julie Wolfe, thank you for coming on. You came on the fire department in 1987, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Were you already thinking, like, was the fire department a goal aspiration for you when you were young or coming up? Or
growing up, no.
Not at all.
I was.
How do you get to there?
Right? I got recruited a number of times in the gym that I worked at. And at the time, my first husband was a horseshoer. And
we all have them, Julie.
Thank you. The one that I'm paying half my pension to. Yeah, that guy. He was a horseshoer, and one of his customers was a captain on our job, Verl Robinson at 71s. And we went horse camping. And at that time, I was getting ready for a bodybuilding contest. So we're out in the middle of the desert. I brought my weights and I brought my bicycle, and we were at Deanza-Borrego, and I rode my bike to Salton Sea or whatever. And he was like, whoa, okay, we don't want women on our job, but if we have to have them, we want women like you. So, I looked into it. I went to
what a pitch.
Right.
We don't
and then
want you.
Then I just kept getting recruited in the gym. Hey. And then
Wait,
so I
how
looked
often
into
would
it.
that happen though? Like
4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long have you been bodybuilding at that point?
Few years. I was powerlifting and bodybuilding.
Were you making a living doing that?
No.
Or yeah, there's no money in there. Right?
No, I was
totally
totally natural, and just doing natural competitions, and so I got into fire science classes and went to an orientation, and I was like, I think this is for me.
So this was obviously a couple of years. This was like 1985, something like that.
Right.
84, 85.
Yeah, it took a couple of years to get on.
I can remember, and that was like because the first female actual firefighter in Los Angeles City was not too far earlier than that. It was very early 80s, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
There were female paramedics, single function medics before that, right?
Correct.
Yes.
The first official female firefighters across the country were in the late 70s in New York. There was a female firefighter that sued and won the lawsuit, and then there was 40 women that were hired shortly after that in New York.
Wow.
And then the kind of dominoes started falling because of that precedent that was set. But it was a big deal in the fire department. Our dad was on the job since he got hired in 76?
77.
77. Yeah. And so I can remember him having a T-shirt, with a blonde-haired woman with a fire helmet on, a big old red circle and a slash through it.
No chicks.
Yeah, but that was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a super male-dominated profession, and people don't like change.
Correct.
Firefighters don't like change. So,
so are we saying that Julie is possibly like in the first 5 or 10 LAFD women?
I'm not.
Have you ever looked into it or got your count? There's no numbers.
I'm not that woman. I don't know how many women are on our job. I don't have any women on the job that I hang out with. I'm not. Not that gal. First 20 for sure. I'm sure I'm in the first 20.
Your class that you came in with, though, you were the only...
No.
Oh.
Actually, there was a few of us. A bunch got fired, believe it or not, back in the day. And then one gal, I probably shouldn't mention her name, but she 3 rookies will rotate to fire stations together on each shift. And she was one of my rotating. She was on the A shift and I was on
Right.
the B shift. So we went to the 3 different probationary stations together.
So just to clarify, when you go through the training academy, right? You go through months with the same group of 50 people or whatever, a whole mix of different nationalities and stuff like that, and sexes now especially. And then when you get out, you're sent to a fire station. Each fire station has 3 separate shifts, okay? A shift, B shift, C shift. So you're sent as a group, 3 rookies, 1 to each shift, and you typically stay with that same group of 3 rookies that you got sent out with. You go to the same fire stations together. So you'll spend 4 months at your first house, which is probably your truck house. And then after that, you'll move on to a new house, which is your engine company house. And then nowadays you go to a third house, which is usually a task force that has an 800 ambulance. And you'll spend that time learning how to operate and the policies and stuff like that on the ambulance. So you came out, you had 2 other rookies that were rotating with you. One of the other ones was also a female.
Was also a female. I think there were 3 of us that graduated together. And we went to my first station was Fire Station 11. And at that time, it was the busiest station in the nation.
That's a hell of a first station.
And we were the first females in that battalion, Battalion 11. And so, yeah, they were like really happy to see us, I'm sure.
I'll bet. And to just give you a little insight, 11s is still it's still pretty much like a cowboy firefighter's firefighting station. I mean, they pride themselves on there's diamond plate everywhere. They're doing housework at 5 a.m. You know what I mean? They are the firefighter cowboys of the department. So I can only imagine back in the late 80s it being even worse than it is now. If you look at it that way, but so that was your first house, was your truck house?
That was my engine house.
Your engine house.
Yeah, busy engine.
What in that area they do get a lot of structure fires. Do you remember your first structure fire?
Yes, I remember my first structure fire. The big structure fire at the time. The Captain 2 was Captain 2 Pamatri, who ended up being the fire
Pamatri,
chief. Yeah, and he was very careful, and it was a fire that it was a 2-story commercial, but he wouldn't let us go inside to fight fire. You know, he kept us out.
Everyone
in a more defensive. Yes.
Yeah.
And the guys were, this is bullshit. We want to go inside. We want to go inside. So that was my first introduction, and I was like, do we go in? Do we stay out?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny, like, you're obviously a veteran now. You've been to so many structure fires. I've been to my share of structure fires. And so even now, like being on the rescue, we'll get a structure fire, and it's almost second nature, all the different things that we do. But that first fire, it's so it's not confusing, but it's just like everything happens so fucking fast.
And nobody says anything.
Nobody says shit.
Yeah.
You've been drilling and you've been throwing ladders. And so you pull up and you're kind of like, oh shit, this is a fire, Okay. And you jump out, and I remember jumping out and throwing my breather on, and everyone's fucking gone. And I'm like, oh shit, where is everybody? I ran around the rig and looked at the building, and everyone's doing shit. And I'm like, okay, fuck, I guess I gotta, throw a ladder, and it's just funny how it's, so I can imagine something like that. You're training so much to fight fire, and then your captain's pulling you back, and especially with those cowboys.
Right. And at that position that I was riding, it was a nozzleman, and so you have one job to get the hose to wherever, and so it was pretty basic but the actual fighting the fire was you got guys behind you, macho 11s. Oh, this is bull.
Yeah, and then that's a whole nother level of stress too, man. When you're doing something, your captain tells you one thing, but then the bull firemen are telling you to do something else. You know what I mean? Because they know what corners they can cut and what they can do, and you're still trying to learn the thing.
Yeah. And that's all going through probation. One guy will tell you to do it one way, the other guy, and you try to, and then once you get off probation, you do it your way.
Right. And it's the other aspect of being a rookie, and I can only imagine too. It was even worse being a female at that time. Is some people are great teachers, man. Some people are complete shitty teachers. Some people
are just trying to scare the shit out of you.
Some people are just trying to make you feel like a complete dumbass and aren't afraid to say, hey, you're a complete fucking dumbass. I'm not teaching you anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when you're trying to learn a job like this, that's life and death, that the person next to you relies on you too, and you're trying to learn these things and you're being taught that way too, sucks. And I would imagine that as a female, did you run into even more resistance from the guys in training you?
Let's cut the chase right now.
Yeah.
You and I, we all know that your attitude is 95% on our fire department. You have a good attitude.
Yep.
For the most part, guys treat you good.
Yes.
Right.
I didn't have any issues. I worked with great guys from day one. From day one at Fire Station 11, the guys were great. Now, I had my other two running mates, the other two rookies on that side. Don't want to mention any names. It's not like I had a good reputation as a rookie, and it wasn't that I was a great rookie. It was the other rookies made me look good because of their attitude. So if you put your head down, you work hard, just like anybody, the guys are going to give you the time of the day. And so my first house, I had an engine captain. He graded me, evaluated me, gave me, passing scores. Then he promoted, and so now they need a captain to ride permanently. So it's every day is the same.
Right.
So
continuity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The captain too, the truck captain, Bomatri, rode the engine. So we had one guy to grade me, and he gave me all passing evaluations. And then we had a guy come in who transferred into that station, and he wasn't having it. And so, by then, that was the end of my 3 or 4 months there. And, and I was getting good evaluation. The first house, you're not going to get great evaluations, but I was getting good evaluations. And then he was like, no, she didn't do this, she didn't do this, she didn't do this. So it ended up what could have been a bad story, me as a female saying a bad story about this guy who didn't want women on the department. It ended up being a good story because he gave me my evaluation, and I didn't concur with it. And not that I didn't concur with his opinion, whether I was standard or not, but I didn't concur with some of the stuff that he had written. I'm like, what? No, I didn't do that. No. And so I didn't concur. When you don't agree with a supervisor's evaluation, you have 24 hours to write why you don't agree with it. And then there's a little, what's the word? Well, the chief looks at it and goes, oh, okay, great. And he starts interviewing everybody. Did this happen? Did this happen? Did this happen? So what could have been, he doesn't like women. Everybody at 11's, the guys backed the first female, and they took my side,
That's
so
awesome.
I didn't really realize how big that was until years later, like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
These guys took my side, and they backed me, the first female rookie, so.
It's also good that his evaluations didn't jive with the other two captains, and one being a deuce, that his evaluation didn't jive with yours, so that's good.
So I can't. And then my second house was my truck house, 20s, and there was one engineer there that was just mill showing his pig, was not having it. Didn't say one word to me my whole probation, which is fine. You just put your head down and you go to work, and you don't go to the captain, oh, he's not talking to me, you just do your job and you prove yourself. And now, holy moly, he's my big brother, hey, sis, how you doing? I'm like, sis, okay, all right, dude. Once you get off probation, it's a whole different. So I don't have those bad stories. I really don't. The bad stories turned into good stories when you look at the big picture. So
I think that's a good, just a good example for young people that are trying to come on the job, male and female. Or any job, really, where you're coming on and you're trying to learn a new job and you're learning from new people. Your attitude is everything.
It is.
You come in with a good attitude, a smile on your face. You treat people with respect on this job. You keep your mouth shut, your ears open, your eyes open, and soak everything up. And being a rookie sucks. It just sucks in general. It sucks to feel like you're a dumbass. It sucks to feel like you're learning something you don't know any.
You're brand new. You don't know anybody else.
Especially now, we're hiring a lot more adults. You know what I mean? Like it used to be, you hired 19, 20, 21-year-olds. Young adults. But now we're getting a lot. The departments kind of changed their focus more into hiring people with like degrees and stuff like that.
Other experience.
Where it used to be they wanted vocational experience. They wanted builders and plumbers and stuff like that. And so we're getting older people who aren't used to feeling dumb, aren't used
Having
to
to
feeling,
suck it up, having to eat
aren't used
shit.
to having to take instruction from a guy that might be 5-6 years younger than him, something like that,
Right.
So it's just a good example to especially on a job like this, to come in with a good attitude and understand that you're learning.
And I think for the most part, I don't want to speak for 99% of the guys, for the people on our job, but it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, gay, straight. Really, honestly, as long as you can do the job, people are accepting, even if they're prejudiced. I was married to my first husband was a racist, and he has no bad experience with people that aren't like him. That's how he was raised, and so he doesn't even know why he's like that. So you come across a person like that, like my first husband, and then you just prove them wrong. You educate them that, hey, I'm really just like you.
Yeah.
And even though I'm a female or a different color or from somewhere else, I really am just like you. And it shows a new light.
Yeah.
So I really think, don't you think, as long as guys can do the job, gals can do the job.
Yeah.
That's always been my outlook on it. Even I've always the whole like treating rookies bad concept to me has never ever made sense to me. Like I've always treated every rookie like a regular person. I give them all the respect in the world until they give me some reason not to.
Right.
If you can do the job, and that's the thing about this job in particular is it's a hard fucking job.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a hard job.
And it's not a thing about weeding people out because you don't like them. You need to trust people and rely on people.
Exactly, man.
That everyone's life is in each other's hands. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If something happens on a fire ground, anyone that we have in here that we talk about a close call on a fire ground, typically the people that rescue that person are the guys and gals that he was working with in that area.
Yep.
You hear a help call, you hear somebody put out a mayday or something like that, and it's your guy. If I was in there fighting fire with you and I hear you, oh shit, what the fuck, where's Ben?
Yep.
And I'm gonna go back and I'm probably gonna find you. Now the key to that is if I find you and you're fucking unconscious because something knocked your mask off and knocked you on your head and you're down, can I grab you and drag you out of this building and save your fucking life? I think that's where it's things like that we have to consider when we're deciding if someone has the ability to be a firefighter or not.
And that's where the politicians get involved, unfortunately, because they want numbers. They don't care if you can do the job or not. They just want numbers. And so there was a period of time where we were hiring women that I didn't want to work with, and that makes the handful of women that are good, look bad.
Yeah.
We want every woman. We don't want quantity of women. We want quality of women, just
Exactly.
like everybody else.
My class, 03-3, shout out. We've all been talking because of Hoser. We're on a group text and stuff, and we've all been kind of reconnecting, which is awesome. But we had 8 women in our class.
Whoa.
And just one is still in the job. I don't know if you know Jennifer Kaler.
No.
She's married now. I don't know your married name, Jennifer, if you're listening. I'm sorry, but she was a bodybuilder too.
Okay.
Oh,
did she marry a cop? Is that the gal? She's in training. Jennifer.
Probably.
Anyway. Yeah.
If you said her name, I'd know it. Anyway, but we had 8 gals in our class, and they were all great. I don't have a bad thing to say about any of them. Some of them quit, just decided they didn't want to do it. There were a couple that there was one in particular, I won't say a name, that were throwing ladders. Mm-hmm. Failed the first ladder. Failed the 12. Failed the 20X. But then every time she would fail, the next morning we would be in taking our test in the morning. They'd call her out to retake the test.
When nobody was watching.
When nobody was watching, and magically she passed.
Right.
And to her credit, after the 20X, she resigned, and she just said she didn't think she could do it. But we all knew what was happening there. And I think that's where the frustration comes in when you're dealing with issues like this with female firefighters. Like you said before, if you can do the job, fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic. I don't dislike any female firefighter on our job. I'm friends with, everyone I meet. Yeah. Well, you know me, I'm friends with everybody. But that's always been the concern. And the concern with Bernie and my mom when it was first starting too was, can you drag my husband out of a fire if it goes down? And let me just say, I came on in 2003. I was 23 years old. I was fit. I wasn't a bodybuilder, but I was fit. I've been an athlete my whole life, baseball and football and stuff. I never imagined how physically demanding fighting a fire was.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't fit, and I had to get fit to go to fire academy, and I couldn't believe I was doing that.
I've come out of fires in South Central shaking, second bottle shaking, and just thinking like, I'm going to crawl under that tailboard and just lay down there for a minute. Nobody will even notice that I'm down there, actually thinking this thought,
so fucking exhausted.
I'm pretty sure I can just lay under there for like 10 minutes. No one will even fucking know I'm under there. That's how exhausted, tired you are. Yeah. And then you couple that with just fear, the fear factor being inside a structure, your heart racing, you're breathing this mask, which can't give you enough air. You know what I mean? You only got it for 10 minutes maybe worth of air before you can kind of start feeling it suck a little bit, and your alarms are going off. Now you're thinking, okay, how the hell do I get out of here? Where's my line? Yeah. There's all kinds of stress factors and fear factors that go along with the physical difficulty of fighting a fire. It's hands down the most physically demanding thing I've ever done is a good old-fashioned firefight.
Right.
Okay.
And you have to tell your mind too, calm down, slow down, breathe. Because it's just the adrenaline takes over, and
so when remember everything you're doing too.
Yeah. So when you adjust a standard in training or in testing to see if you can even do this job, it doesn't benefit anybody.
Right.
It definitely doesn't benefit you if I'm going to try to rescue you and I can't do it. But it doesn't benefit me if I'm not physically able to do the job for myself.
Right.
It could be a danger for myself.
Right.
So it's just one of those things that like you said, it's a balancing act between the politicians and numbers. LA City was trying to get 5% females by 2020. that type of thing. When it really should be focused on getting the most qualified people for the job.
Thank you.
Right. And that's what they need to focus the recruitment on, which recruitment was like non-existent really, other than looking for women at the gym initially. Yeah. But maybe that was a good way to go.
I mean, now it's there's a whole recruitment, department within the department.
And another point, all the points that you just made, we couldn't really put on a T-shirt, I guess, in the 80s. And that's why Dad wound up rocking a line, And then to follow up on that, he wound up having to work at a station where he had a woman AO and a woman Captain 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure did.
Yeah.
It's just a big dumb fireman way of saying we don't want no women.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up
he
working,
came around,
and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't force yourself. You just go and do your job. And at 20s, we had a Captain 2, Captain Pete, John Peterson, who is a legend.
Famous.
Screaming
Pete. I was the only woman allowed to go to his retirement dinner.
Wow.
I was the only woman that he wanted on his truck. And so when a guy like that is going in the battalion, going to 11s and saying, I'll take Wolfe over 70% of you guys, it's that it's not necessarily you. It's you just go and you do the job. And you have these old timers talk good about you or whatever. And I would have loved to work with your dad, Let me have that T-shirt. And I would, I'd wear it. I'm the same way. No chicks. If you can't do the job, I don't want to work with you either.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
What year did you promote to engineer?
I hate.
God, come on.
Because I'm not like, what year were you married? I don't know. What year was your? I don't know.
How much time did you have on?
I had.
How about that?
10 years.
All right, so 97-ish.
Yeah, 97.
All right, so when I was graduating high school. When you first promoted, where did you go as an engineer?
I had my choice. So I had my choice of 63s.
Oh, nice.
Which I always wanted to go to Venice. We moved up there a lot when I was at 20s. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to work here right at the beach.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had my choice and I chose 46s.
46. There you go.
Get
House
some more
of Pain.
fires.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, they
it's
call
right
it-
in line with who you are, I think.
All right, let's roll it back a second, though. What does an engineer do?
Oh, okay. So an engineer drives a fire engine, right?
Woo.
But is also in charge of pumping to all the lines that we have. So it's a promotion. It's probably like a year-long study program to study and get all the hydraulics and stuff like that down. You have to know, what pressures to pump to this length of hose with this type of nozzle on it. And if I'm pumping to this line and this line and this line, and I'm pumping these pressures to that, if they come and ask me for water for a wagon battery or for a ladder pipe, do I have enough power in this engine to be able to give them the proper volume for that? So it's a lot of math. It's an extremely important job, when you consider the whole point of our job is putting wet stuff on the red
you have
stuff.
to be ready for. Yeah.
And then there's other factors involved too, like spotting your rig. If you're a second, third end engine, if you're an engineer and you come in on a third end engine on a major structure fire and you're not needed to do engineer work, you throw a bottle on and you go, up to the roof with the truck, or you start doing firefighting shit.
Right.
So it's a awesome job. In my opinion, it's the best job on the fire department.
Absolutely.
I think my dad's always said that, if engineer's best job on
He
the fire
never
department.
left. Yeah.
Yep. And so Julie did a study program for that and promoted in or about 1997,
Right.
and went to 46s, right, which is known as the House of Pain.
The House of Pain.
And
Right
I think
by
it's
the Coliseum.
I think it's partly known as that because you got to walk up those stinking stairs
I know, right?
to do everything you want to do in that station. The kitchen, the TV room, everything's on the
everything's
second
there.
floor, and it's like a high second floor.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and there's one of the busiest stations in the city, in South Central Battalion 13 there. So at least 20 times a day, you're drudging up those
Lumping up
freaking
the
stairs.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of structure fire there.
Right.
I'll bet.
Yeah. So I wanted to learn my job. I was there for a year and a half and became pregnant with my first daughter. And so after they remove you from the field, you get a light duty job. And after that, there was a spot at 52s
Okay.
in Hollywood, another real busy engine. I'm like, I'll take that spot, please.
Nice.
And 52s is Melrose, right? It's Melrose and
Paramount
Western.
Studios.
Yeah, correct.
And so that kind of is a good segue into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about. Back in 2001, I know you don't know, but I read it earlier, so I'm pretty sure that's it. August of 2001, so it was a couple years before I was hired. I was actually living in, what's that town called? Anyway, over off of like Hyperion and Hollywood.
Oh, Silver Lake.
Silver Lake. I was
Silver
living in
Lake,
Silver
right.
Lake at the time. Right. And I remember getting up to go to work. I was working at the medical offices at Cedar Sinai and driving and seeing the smoke. And I'm like, oh shit, it's structure fire. I'm trying to get on the jobs at that point.
Right.
I don't think I was quite a paramedic yet. But and then, getting to work and looking up and trying to see what happened, what that fire was, and then reading about the Palomar Hotel fire. It was about 3:00 in the morning, August of 2001. And this was a residential hotel. It was located on the corner of Santa Monica Boulevard and Western, just off the corner there, right next to a strip mall. And it was a 4-story center hall apartment building called the Palomar Hotel. And what had happened was the owner had a whole bunch of fire code violations in the building, and had a bunch of fees and things that he had to pay and was supposed to pay to get the building up to code. The owner's brother was the manager of the place. Okay, he, in an attempt to burn down the building, poured almost 40 gallons of gasoline throughout the building on all floors. Before he could light it off, the fumes from the gasoline hit the pilot light for the water heaters and ignited. He was found hunched over some melted gasoline cans. It was one of the 2 fatalities of that structure fire. During that structure fire, there was and I'll let you go ahead and just kind of describe. So it was middle of the night call. You guys were in bed.
Yeah, we were in bed asleep. We get the call to a structure fire. We're en route, and we don't see anything. No loom up. Driving down Western, there's these huge trees. So we didn't see anything actually till we got to the corner. Little fire on the roof. I wonder if it's like a billboard on fire or whatever. I took a ride onto Sunset, drove up to the fire, and now there's people just coming out of the building on all floors, like, you know, like the cartoons you see of like cockroaches or rats just coming out of the front of the building. We're like, holy moly. We drive past the fire, look in between, or past the building, kind of look in between the two buildings, and you can see a little fire in the back, but still nothing. So
that's the side of the building. That's the east side of the building.
So we haven't seen this side yet. We're responding from the west, and then you can't really see it, but you can see the fire escape in the front there on the top left, and people were they were climbing over the fire escape to get to the floor below.
Man.
They were just trying to get out of there. And later we found out that was the only way to get out was the front of the building because the rear was blown out. And so I do my normal spot, which is going to be right to that front door, adjacent to those fire escapes. And I just didn't feel comfortable. I did not like that spot. I'm going to spot there 99% of the time. Didn't feel good. People were climbing. I just felt like people were going to jump on my rig.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hang on, you guys stay. There was a hydrant on that corner. I pulled up to the hydrant. I'm going to spot to this hydrant. And when I spotted the hydrant was when we got our first look at what was going on this side. Every floor was full. Every floor in the rear, there was fire coming out.
In the rear of the building.
In the rear of the building, which
shit.
you don't, you know, you'll usually see fire coming out of one window. But when they're coming out of every window, you're like, okay.
You know, it takes a minute. If your standard fire is going to start, but somebody leaves a cigarette in bed, falls asleep in bed with a cigarette, or you know, some electrical problem catches a curtain on fire or something like that. But it's going to start in one unit. Mm-hmm. Then it's either going to spread sideways or it's going to flap out the window and get to the unit above.
Right.
So to pull up and see, you know, four floors going in the back. Holy shit! So that's the front of the building there.
Yeah, and so there's in front of this guy right here is a hydrant. I spotted to the hydrant. Well, there were people on this. There's a ledge. There was guys on this ledge on this. And I really thought my guys aren't safe here. These people are going to jump on us.
Yeah.
So I go, hang on, you guys, and I ended up spotting across the street just to get away from the building. And later on, learned that there was a huge explosion. There was gallons of unburned gas that we just got lucky that we didn't lose any of us.
Yeah.
So I spotted across the street. Guys took lines inside, and it wasn't till they were inside, established fighting fire, when a woman came out of the...
Go back to the other one.
Go back to the... A woman came out of the window of the 4th story with her 2 kids.
What? No, was it that window that the aerial's at?
I'm sorry.
I think it was a 4th story, right?
No, let's see. It was
because the ladder, the 35 went to the top.
The 35
of the
went to
third.
the top. Yeah.
So basically, this young woman who was on the top floor with her 2 kids that were, I believe, 3 and 5, was hanging out the window with her 2 kids, smoke coming over her head.
Yeah.
And the aerial was, I think there was one aerial there already that was positioned somewhere else on the other side of the building. Mm-hmm. And basically, the largest ground ladder that we have is a 35-foot extension ladder. Now, that 35-foot extension ladder, with a climbing angle that's tenable, it's only going to reach above the 3rd story window, and that's where it reached to. And so firefighters basically climbed up to essentially the top rung of the 35, which is something you don't do.
And it was straight up and down.
Straight up and down, and just kind of balancing up there, hanging onto the side, reached up while she handed down her kid. Grabbed the kid by the ankle, handed it down, came back up, got the second kid, and by the time they came up to get her, she couldn't take it anymore, and she jumped from the 4th floor.
It was terrible.
Hold on, though, but that... I've never heard of that as a rescue. So, like, they put it up like stilts, basically, with guys holding the base?
Yeah. So
it was almost... Your climbing angle, if this is the building and this is the ladder, your climbing angle is... I mean, you want a non-steep climbing angle if you're carrying equipment up, or if you're rescuing somebody. The higher your climbing angle gets, obviously, the more you got to hang on, the more precarious it gets, you know? So, but with that ladder not being tall enough to reach that window, they put it as... basically tried to get it as high as they could and still have a tenable climbing angle, as they were calling for an aerial ladder. But you got to understand that when you throw an aerial ladder, there's
it
a lot
doesn't
to
just
it.
go right
It doesn't
up,
just
yeah.
it's not just pulling it down and popping it up somewhere else. You gotta pull the outriggers up, bring them in, reposition the rig to a proper position where you're going to throw it properly.
Right.
Get it there, put out the outriggers,
Takes
you know,
a
and then
few
extend. It
minutes.
takes a while.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this smoke and fire is lapping over her head, and you know, if you've never been to a structure fire, especially a boomer like that, it's fucking hot.
Yeah, and
it's
it
hot.
goes, yeah.
You can be standing, you know, in the parking lot right there outside of the building on the sidewalk and feel the heat from that thing. So having it lap over you, you know, it got to be too much for her, and she jumped.
So my guys were already inside fighting fire, and like you said, they threw the ladder, but they couldn't throw the ladder directly under the window because of that tree. So it was the captain too, McMasters from 35s, climbed up to the top of that ladder. I mean, he could touch the building, and he had to reach over to his right to get that first kid out, and he got her or him, and he brought the child down, and by then I had a protection line because I could see the flames just going over. The woman's name, I can't remember dates, but her name was Norma Galindo. I remember her. Fire. I could see the fire just rolling over her, and she's just being a mom. That's what moms do. They protect their kids, and I'm yelling at her because now she has her next kid sitting on the window ceiling. Don't, hang on, help us come in. I knew she was going to throw her kids down. And I had a line. I was just at a campfire the night before, and, I'm just sitting by the campfire like, oh, this is hot. Yeah. And I can only imagine the heat that she was taking on. So I had a line just hitting the window just to try to keep some of the heat off of her. And the captain brought the kid all the way down, and I wanted him to hand him off and go back up to get the daughter, and he came all the way down. I'm like, son of a bitch. And then a fireman from 26s, who was on the 800, and him and his partner got split up. He ended up rescuing that kid. The daughter brought her down, was going back up to get the mom, and she was trying to attempt to get on the ladder. The ladder was not right under her, and then she just gave up. And I just closed my eyes when she was falling. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It ended up, her entire back was black. She was just burnt, just protecting her kids. Yeah. The father just came home from work. He worked a graveyard, didn't speak English. They had a translator. He comes home, and his two kids are off to the hospital, and his wife is dead. And I just ran to the translator, and you need to tell this man that his wife was a hero. His wife saved those kids. Your wife. And for years, he would come to my station like on Valentine's Day or Mother's Day and bring me flowers or whatever. Yeah.
That's like one of those things that it doesn't happen very often in your career. Those horrible things that you see, but just another tough part of this job. Every structure fire is different, but anything that involves kids is always tough to see and watch, and it never really goes away. And especially something like that, you people are capable of some pretty amazing things, when you need to. And for her to protect her kids like that and hang in there till they were safe at least before she gave up something else.
And her daughter was the same age as my oldest daughter, Cora. She was 5 or 6 at the time. And, they had lost everything. And I had all these dresses that my mom had sewed that we gave to the father. Our station went to toys. We have a big supply of toys at the station, at the fire department. And we brought the kids bicycles and toys. And it's just... I cried every day for weeks. Yep. And then it took a year before sometimes I could talk about it and just talk about the fire like we do. And then sometimes I'm like, whoa, what the heck? Yep. I need a break.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't talk about this right now.
Yeah, I think that just goes to how we, as firefighters, paramedics, tend to tuck stuff away like that, I think just now it's becoming more acceptable to talk about things. Yeah. And, I've definitely talked to therapists about different things at different points in my life. It's always helped. Yeah. But there are a ton of things that you just bury it down,
try to
tuck it
forget
away,
about it.
try to forget
Yeah.
about it, and you don't realize how close those things are to the surface, you know, and all it takes is just one little tiny trigger to bring those old emotions up. So
And that's good to hear for me as a woman, because, you know, I try not, when I go to work, I'm a firefighter first, I'm a woman second, but to hear that the guys have problems with this stuff too, I'm like, oh, it's just because I'm a girl that this is, you know, this is touching me. But yeah, there's only been 2 incidents that I've cried in my 33 years, and another one was a terrible traffic accident where just we see such terrible stuff. And it stays there with us, and you think you're okay, and yeah, I'm fine, but it just builds up and builds up and builds up. Like 33 years of this stuff, you're like, whew, okay, yeah. I told you to look both ways before you cross the street. You know,
exactly.
So now I'm like, my poor kids.
yeah, exactly.
They'll be, they're bleeding, and you're like, suck it up. That's, you know,
Yeah, no, I always talk about that with my wife, how I'm just like always thinking of the worst case scenario shit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always the guy like sitting in the corner watching all the kids in the pool because I don't want to fucking anyone to drown. Or,
Exactly.
You know, if I'm driving in the carpool lane, I'm always looking at the oncoming traffic, see if there's an accident happening over there, so I can swear. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You just never know. The craziest shit happens, and you're like, holy shit, how did that happen?
But because you've seen it.
Exactly.
You've seen it.
Exactly.
You've seen it. I hate, with a passion, drunk drivers. I hate them because of what we've seen, what they do to innocent families, and
You are in the drop program now, right?
Woo!
Right around the corner. The drop program is one of our retirement programs. So you're knocking on the door of retirement. What are your plans when you retire? I mean, you're going to have 10, 24-hour shifts a month more to deal with.
I'm going to be the fastest 60-year-old outrigger canoeist because I'm going to be on the water every day, you know,
So
24/7.
Outrigger Canoeing. You're pretty well known in that community. I mean, I've you know, I've researched you a little bit before this
Are
interview.
you stalking me?
But
Googler.
how long have you been doing that? You're from Hawaii?
I'm originally from Hawaii. I've been doing it, 28 years now, and I was fortunate after my rookie year.
Yeah.
I got picked up by the world's best team.
Really?
Yeah, and they were.
Is this something that you did growing up as a kid?
No, but it's something that I always wanted to do. A fireman got me into it.
Oh,
I was
really?
like,
Really?
Firefighter.
Can you
Fireman got me into
explain
it.
what outrigger canoeing is exactly?
Sure, outrigger canoeing. You know, the Hawaiian style canoes where you have 6 people in a canoe, and Hawaiians, Tahitians. That would be their main way of transportation, is in these canoes with an outrigger on the side. And so I do that. We in a 6-man canoe. We're 6 of us, and I also have a 1-man canoe where I do by myself, by myself, and it's just it's my life.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of my life.
It's a paddle with just one side, right? So
Right.
you're paddling off on one side, and then the outrigger is. What does it do? Does it just keep the balance? Does it keep you straight?
It keeps you balanced. It's supposed to keep you balanced, but you can flip super easy. You
Oh,
just
really?
lean a little bit to the right, or if a wave lifts up that ama, you're going to flip over. So yeah, it's for balance. So you have a single paddle, and you paddle. If you don't have a rudder, which is controlled by foot pedals, you control the canoe with your paddle. Which the 6-man canoes, there's a steersman in the back steering. So yeah, you switch sides. You get tired on one side, you go to the other side. Yeah.
How long had you been doing it before you got picked up by this
I had,
world's best crew?
yeah, it's like the second year. My first year was with a team out of Marina Del Rey, and that second year, this world champion team was going to. There's a world champion race in Hawaii. It's a race from the island of Molokai to Oahu. It's close to 42 miles, and
Wow.
they had a spot open. And I had raced with their steersman. One race, we did a little sprint, and we crushed it. And she's like, "Who's this?" And so they had a spot open, and the steersman goes, "Hey, I raced with this one girl from Marina. Let's see if she wants to go do it." And I'm like, they called me, and I thought it was a turd. I'm like, yeah, right. This is Mindy Clark. Yeah, right. No, really. Do you want to? Yeah, right. And so we went over that year, and we won
To the world championship.
to the world championship, and we won. and I had a picture of myself on the cover of the front page of the Hawaii newspaper, holding my little 4-month-old daughter. The day like Cora,
That's
at
awesome,
the finish
yeah.
line. It was pretty cool. So then you're hooked. Once you win something that
Sure.
big,
Oh,
you're hooked. And to this day, I know I can win that race. One more time, I can win that race. Yeah, right.
So, something happened to you practicing not too long ago.
Yeah.
Right? Why don't you start? So you go before work, right? Before work and you practice.
Correct.
We're Venice Beach. We're pretty near Marina Del Rey, and so you can get the boat in the water or the canoe in the water.
Yeah, boat canoe.
And practice out there. So just kind of tell
So
us.
that's one of my perks for working at 63s is I can paddle before I come to work. So I live in San Diego. I get up at 2 a.m. I'm on the water at 4:30. I can get an hour or so in before I come to work because it's 5 minutes to the station. And so as much as I can every day, whenever I can, I'm on the water. And I want to get the story straight because when I had this little incident, I was recovering from an injury, and I had surgery on my wrist, and I asked my physical therapist, "Can I go paddle? Can I please go paddle? I need to get on the water. My gills are drying up." And she goes, "If you wear a brace that has like a metal brace that keeps your wrist in place, yeah, you can go and paddle. Just go easy." I'm like, yes. Yeah. So I was paddling out of Oceanside, just going easy. Like she said, I mostly staying inside. I go, "Oh, it was a beautiful day. I'm going outside, out into the ocean."
Is this early morning or is it?
No, this is dinner time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For real.
For real.
Yeah. For
This
all
is live,
species
for
involved.
all species, yeah. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock,
All right.
6 o'clock, we'll say. And I'm just paddling straight out into the wind. And then a train hit my canoe. I felt like a train hit my canoe. And
How far out were you at this point?
a mile or two.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And let me just go back a step. It was the same day that Long Beach captain was shot and killed.
Oh,
Remember
yeah,
that?
Yeah.
What came on scene and the
Right.
guy
Yeah.
shot and killed him. So he was on my mind all day. Like you never know when it's your
Yep.
time.
Right,
You just
right.
never know. Oh my gosh, this guy went to work. He's not going home. He's on my mind all day.
Yeah.
And now a friggin' great white hits my canoe. And I'm like, holy crap.
Did you see it?
I did not see it, but I knew right away.
Yeah.
I mean, it
just by the force.
honestly, I felt like a truck hit me. It just, bam! There was no question. I knew exactly what it was.
Holy
yeah.
shit.
And I was like, wow, this is it. Today's my day. This is my day. Oh my gosh, this is happening right now. I'm dying. I'm going to die right now. There's nobody around me. I spun my canoe around and to paddle nice and easy. Oh, hell. I'm screaming, "Mommy!" I'm like, "Oh my God, please God help me." I'm praying and getting super religious. So the whole way
And paddling your ass off.
was a sprint. And I'm like, what is that noise? What's that noise? It was me breathing. I was breathing so hard.
The canoe's still seaworthy?
The canoe is still seaworthy. I turned around and I started paddling, and I felt a little tug. Like I thought that he grabbed my paddle. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's following me. The thing's following me. So it was an all-out sprint. I got into the harbor, and my husband is the coach for the women's crew team in Oceanside, and he had a canoe full of novice. And so I went up to him and I whispered, because I didn't want to freak anybody else. I
Right.
go, "I just got hit by a great white, or by a shark. I didn't know it was a great white. I just got hit by a shark." He goes, "What?" He goes, "You look like you just saw a ghost." I'm going in. And so I took my canoe in. I brought it up onto the dock because I was looking for a big dent in the bottom of my canoe. And I'm looking from the nose to the bottom. Nothing. I got to the back, and there's just teeth marks. And my canoe had taken on water, and it just pierced the boat. Yeah.
Shit.
I called my friend.
Shark attack,
I know.
bro.
I called my friend who's harbor patrol and who works for the police down there. And I said, "Hey, are you working today? Get a boat out there. Tell anybody out there that there's an aggressive shark." And he came over. He took pictures. He made a report. Sent it to the guy who's in charge of Shark Week, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He measured everything. He goes, that was a 11 to 12 foot white.
Holy shit.
And it wasn't you weren't attacked. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
okay, whatever.
Yeah, tell me that.
Whatever
Tell
you
that
want to call
to
it. It was
my canoe that's missing its ass.
It was an encounter, and either the shark, you were in the shark's feeding area, or she was pregnant and wanted you out of it. Just ask, I'll leave, you know.
An encounter.
You're
like, you went to SeaWorld,
it was
please.
an encounter, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so it was,
Man.
no, scary.
Yeah, she brought
scary.
the canoe into work with her and kind of told us the story, you know.
Yeah.
There it was, man. Big old chunk taken out of it.
Yeah, I'm like, when I went to my canoe, the guy, my repairman, I'm like, you need to fix this now. I have a race up in the gorge this weekend. And they taped it up. And
Had you ever had any kind of encounters like that, seeing as you spend so much time on the water?
I've seen sharks, you know, because we've done so many ocean races.
Especially out there in Hawaii,
yeah,
right?
you see little fins, but you know,
nothing
you're
like
you're
that.
in the
Yeah.
you're in a big
Yeah.
6-man, nothing like
stupid shark.
Yeah, stupid shark, whatever.
Can't get me.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, nothing like that.
What does a new canoe run you? If you want to get into Outrigger
Yeah.
canoeing at home.
Yeah, I just have one ordered, $5,800.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Jump in, folks.
Almost
Yeah.
6. Well, that's for the 1-man. The 6-man costs 27,000 up to
Oh, wow.
27,000.
Yeah, we go in on
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 4 more guys.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
in?
Yeah, right. We're
Yeah.
gonna start Outrigger canoe team.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
hell
How much
yeah.
was one with a metal bottom? and
Yeah.
back?
With a gun.
Right, electric shock.
Yeah, are you kidding?
Yeah, but
Holy
there's not
shit.
there before the encounter and after the encounter. There hasn't been a day that I don't think of sharks when I'm out there. I'm
Yeah, I'll
always
bet.
thinking of okay. And now I can go along the coast for 50 miles, but to go straight out now,
Yeah.
I kind of like
Man.
I get to about that 2-mile mark, and I'm like,
You're looking behind you real quick.
yeah, I think I'm gonna turn around. I'm gonna just go and paddle inside now. Yeah, it's
Dude.
still kind of.
And she was still like, I got a race next week.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I'm
it's just after-
retiring.
Crazy.
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
hobby time.
They say, you know, shark sighting. Yeah, they live in the ocean.
Yeah.
You're in their home, so
Julie Wolfe, guest Hall of Fame.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
coming.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah,
that
that was
an
awesome.
hour. Can you believe that?
no, I'm really enjoying your guys'
Dude.
podcast. It's been
Thank you.
Oh,
I
great to
appreciate it.
listen
We're going to
to.
enjoy
Yeah.
this one. Yeah,
Yeah.
you contributed to the library now. Jeez.
I want a shirt.
Yeah, we got
Please
one for you
remain
for
calm.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. That was a great story. You know, I've got I have a ton of respect for you, and I think you're a great person.
Thank
Yeah, we
And
all do now.
I feel
for
privileged
sure.
that I get to
Jeez.
work with you, and I really appreciate you coming on. Ben, you got anything? Make sure you follow us on Instagram.
Well, Julie, where can we find you? Do you want to promote anything? Promote the
Nothing?
team?
Oh, the team. You got any
Yeah?
races coming up?
Where people
Yeah.
can support?
Yeah, I had a huge race. I had 3 big races in Hawaii this year. I have a big race in Samoa next year.
And
we'll see
Yeah, we'll
if
see.
it happens. I
Yeah,
just
right.
raced in New Zealand right before the COVID. So, yeah, we're just kind of taking one day at a time. We're just,
I want to give a shout out to your youngest daughter, Rel, too, who's one of our explorers at
Oh, no.
63s. And is following her mom's footsteps. A
Awesome.
great addition to our station whenever she's there. So shout out to Rel.
she idolizes Gonzo and Rob Hayes. Oh,
Come
my
on.
gosh.
Look at that.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
All right.
All right. Well, you can follow us at PRC Pod on Instagram. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, PRC Pod, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please remain calm with exclamation points on it.
You can contact us at contactprcpod@gmail.com if you want to yell at us, or if you have had any kind of incident and want to come on the podcast. Give us a holler. Let us know what you're all about.
Where can they follow you, sir?
Danny Gonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter.
You can follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign tumor.
And follow the podcast at PRC Pod on Instagram.
All right. And if you want to buy one of these hot shirts that we're both rocking, by accident, and that we're giving Julie, $20, Venmo us, hit us up,
Hit us
DM
up.
us. We can get you. And thank you guys very much for listening.
Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean. Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.